I'm Stuart Bruce, and we're going to spend the next 15 minutes with you sharing some tips for getting the most out of LinkedIn. You need to start by auditing your LinkedIn profile to make sure it's a spick and span before you start using LinkedIn to engage with people and promote yourself. This isn't Facebook or Instagram, so ditch the picture of you in a sombrero and use a profile picture where you are clearly identifiable. It doesn't need to be a professional headshot, but needs to be clear enough so people who've met you once or twice can recognise you. A good but amateur headshot is better than a creative professional wider shot, as your face will be too small to be recognised. That said, don't be afraid of sharing your personality in images. Whatever you are looking for, remember, people buy people. But it's better to do that with your banner than with your profile picture. A new LinkedIn feature is Open to Work. Once you turn it on, you can display our Open to Work photograph frame on your profile picture by clicking on Choose Who Sees You Open. It means anyone who sees your profile picture, such as when you comment on or even like a post, will see you are open to work because of the green photo frame. Next, never use LinkedIn's default blue network picture for your banner. It's the perfect place for you to tell a story about yourself. It might be a montage of photos to tell a story about your career experience. You might have a passion or hobby that's relevant to the type of job you want. Spend some time browsing other people's LinkedIn profiles and see what interesting photos they've chosen. Once you have ideas, it's simple to create your own banner using a free account on Design Wizard, Canva, Visme, or one of the numerous other online design tools. I've deliberately talked about 2 images first, as all too often PR and communication professionals start by thinking about words and don't spend enough time on visuals. When it comes to words, the 2 most important parts of your LinkedIn profile are the headline and the About section. For the headline, the clue is in the name. Don't waste it with job titles, but use it to sell yourself. What do you bring to the party? What makes you different from other people at your level of experience or in your sector or geographic location? Imagine someone has asked you what you do and why should I hire you? You've got 120 characters to play with, so use them wisely. Mine says PR futurist, corporate comms, measurement and evaluation, PR strategy, digital and social media, and crisis comms. Your headline matters because the first part of it appears under your name in the newsfeed. As it is only the first part of the headline that is seen, make sure you put the most important words first. Next, it's the About section, which is a blank canvas to do what you want with. What do you want to use yours for? The first thing to remember is that although you're allowed to use 2,000 characters, only the first 3 lines are visible without people needing to click to see more. Make sure you use the start of your profile wisely. You don't need to repeat what is in your headline, so use it to start adding more of your elevator pitch. Experiment by looking at it on desktop and mobile to see what is appearing without needing to click to see more. There's some debate if you should write your LinkedIn profile in the first person, I am, or the third person, Stuart is. As this video is about using LinkedIn to build your personal reputation for job seeking, I strongly recommend writing it in the first person. Culturally, this can be difficult for many of us, as we can be uncomfortable about singing our own praises, and it's therefore easier to do so in the third person. I'd urge you to overcome your inhibitions and start writing about your accomplishments in the first person. You need to use lots of action words and to focus on what you achieved on behalf of employers and clients, rather than simply describing what you have done. Next, I need to mention LinkedIn settings. I'd actually say this is the first thing you should do, but I didn't want to bore you at the start by talking about settings. First, create a custom URL. You can personalize how people find you on LinkedIn. Mine is simply my name, Stuart Bruce. If you can get your exact name, then do so. If you can't, then think about making it descriptive, easy to say and remember. Next, set your profile's public visibility to be on. This means people will be able to see your details even if they aren't signed into LinkedIn. And make sure all the customer settings are set to show they are visible in search results on Google and Bing. If you use other social media platforms such as Twitter, Instagram, or even TikTok, you can set your LinkedIn profile as your website. There are lots of benefits to this, but one is often that friends and family aren't clear what you do, which means even if they want to help you find a new role, they might find it hard. Make it easier for them by providing the link. LinkedIn has so many setting options that I can't go through them all in this short video. Just remember the principle should be to be as open as possible and share what you can, which might be the opposite of what you do on Facebook, where most people are starting to lock down their privacy settings. Now that you've perfected the main parts of LinkedIn, it's time to start looking at the wealth of other information you can share. Crudely, the more, the better. The featured section is a great place to highlight the work you are most proud of. There are 4 types of content you can use. The most interesting is probably the ability to upload media, such as photo, documents, or presentations. You can also link to external websites, including YouTube videos. Mine link to a showreel video showing lots of client projects I've worked on, as well as me speaking at the Davos World Communication Forum and doing a couple of TV interviews. Your featured content could be awards you've won or a link to a piece of work such as a video or editorial coverage that you're particularly proud of. Next is the part of LinkedIn most people think of as it's your employment history. The first step is to make sure you list all your jobs and don't have any career gaps. Don't be embarrassed about time out when you weren't working. It's much better to explain than to leave gaps which beg questions and create doubt. How you create this section will depend on where you are in your career. Your most recent jobs are the ones you will want to focus on and share the most information. One of the huge benefits of LinkedIn over a traditional CV is there is almost no limit on the description you can give for each job. Actually there is, and it's 2,000 characters. That's still far more than you would put on a CV. As with the About profile, LinkedIn doesn't show the full entry until you click to see more. This means the start of your description might be what you'd put on a traditional CV where you'd highlight your key achievements. Remember, what you've achieved and contributed is more important than simply describing what you've done. You can then use the rest of the 2,000 characters to provide supporting evidence and examples. You don't need to use all the characters for every job. In fact, you probably won't want to or need to on any of them except perhaps the most recent. The beauty of this is that you are providing short summaries for people looking quickly, but enough detail for those who want it or need it. As well as your employment history, LinkedIn has a multitude of optional sections you can complete. You don't need to add them all or do them all at once, but it is worth spending some time exploring the Add Profile section button and adding the most relevant ones. You can gradually add more sections or more examples to each section over time. Some of the sections you can include volunteer experience or accomplishments such as publications, courses, projects, honours and awards. Don't ignore these, as in a competitive job market, employers will be looking for what makes you stand out. Whenever I recruit or help my clients recruit, I'm always interested in volunteering experience. The fact you volunteer says a lot about your character, as it's your ability to give and contribute. What you volunteer to do is less important than the fact you volunteer. You're good at your job because you have to be. You're paid to be good at your job. You're good as a volunteer because you've chosen to be. If you're fluent in a second language, then use the LinkedIn feature to add a profile in another language. It's essential you use this feature rather than set up a second profile in another language, as that's against LinkedIn's terms and conditions. You don't need to make your second language profile exactly the same as your main profile. In fact, you won't want to, as you have to translate it yourself, and it will be hard work to keep both in sync. It's better to use the second language for a summary and direct people back to your main profile. It doesn't just need to be a translation. In the second language profile, you might want to highlight different strengths and experiences. Think about who might be reading it and why they are reading it. Write it down to the questions they might have and promote yourself in the best way. There's lots more I could say about creating a better LinkedIn profile, but before we finish, I wanted to spend some time talking about how you can use LinkedIn for engagement and networking with people. Most people don't pay for a premium version of LinkedIn, and to be honest, you don't need many of the paid-for features, but they can help make LinkedIn more powerful and easier to use. The most useful paid feature for me is the ability to see who has viewed my profile. You get this by clicking on your profile and going to your dashboard. It is available on the free version, but only the 5 most recent views. So you have to be really assiduous about often checking that page of LinkedIn and keeping a record elsewhere of who has viewed it. Who viewed your profile is useful for all sorts of reasons. If you've applied for a post, you might see people at that company checking your profile. You might see an old colleague or client has looked at your profile. You can use that as a prompt to contact them, as at least you know you've been in their mind. Or you can use it the other way. When you view someone's profile, they might see you've viewed it. This shows you've bothered to research them and their colleagues if you are going for an interview. For me, one of the least useful features on LinkedIn is InMail. The ability to message someone you aren't connected to. I just don't need it, as there are better ways to make contact. My tip would be, if you've found someone on LinkedIn you want to contact, then do so directly by sending a personal email. You can figure out the work email address of most people quite easily. I use a website called hunter.io. All you have to do is enter the URL of the website of the company and it will show you the most common pattern of its emails. If you try it for the CIPR, it tells you the pattern is first name and first letter of last name. Using a free account, it even gives you actual email addresses for some staff. The free version only lets you see 10, but that's often enough. So far, I haven't talked to you about publishing content on LinkedIn, which once you've set up your profile is where you will get most value, as it will enable you to engage and network with the right people. There are 3 main types of content on LinkedIn. The first is a simple status update, which is similar to a Facebook status update. The difference is your update is going to be work-related. A great way to use this feature is to be generous and share news, articles, blog posts, podcasts, etc. you found and are relevant to the people you want to network with and connect with. You can add photos and other attachments. Surprisingly, adding a PDF is often a good way of helping to increase the visibility and engagement on your post. The second is a native LinkedIn video. It is much better to upload video directly to LinkedIn than share a video from other platforms such as YouTube. Videos are a great way to express your personality and for people to get to know you. The third is a LinkedIn article, which is like using LinkedIn as a blogging platform. It provides you with an opportunity to share your thoughts or expertise in a longer article. Maybe you've written something elsewhere which you can edit and publish on LinkedIn as an article. However, don't forget it's not all about you. As well as publishing your own content, it is essential to interact with other people in your network and people in your contacts' extended networks. Comment on their posts, like their articles, share their articles. If you are sharing, then make sure you explain why and express your opinion rather than just sharing it. Finally, there is a question of who to link to on LinkedIn. There is no definitive answer to this. However, I'd say by definition, LinkedIn only becomes really useful if you start to connect with lots of relevant people. I say relevant because there is little value in linking with just anybody, but the definition of relevant can be broad. It might be other people in PR and communication. It might be people in industry sectors that you've worked in or want to work in, or people in the same city or area of the country. People you were at school or university with, friends and family. Just because it is a professional network is no reason not to link with friends or families with entirely different jobs. How else can you find out who they might know or who might be useful to you, or vice versa? I'm fairly open about who I accept invitations from. I ask the question, is there a reason to accept? If the answer is yes, then I do. I don't define the reason. It could be anything from knowing people in common, the job they do, the company they work for, the place they are based. Anything could be a good reason. You should also use LinkedIn to proactively link and connect with new people. On a free account, you have a limited number of searches and invitations. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, as you don't want to end up spamming people. One idea is you could sign up for a free 30-day trial to one of the premium options. You just need to remember to cancel it before the first payment. Also, make sure you've got enough time that month to make the most of the features in the time that you've got the trial. One tip that I'm absolutely adamant is always personalize your connection requests. This means on absolutely no account should you use the mobile app to connect with people. On the mobile app, if you click the connect button, it just sends the invite, which is rude. You need to use the website, which gives you the option to type a short message explaining why you want to connect. Always do this. There are lots more tips I could share, but we don't have enough time in this video. Hopefully I've already given you enough new tips to help you get more out of LinkedIn and make it a useful part of building your personal reputation. Thank you for watching. All that remains to say is don't be shy, send me a connection invitation, and good luck if you're searching for a new job.